Evening grazers. Today's the 23rd of June, which means that we're officially into summer. Evening time is falling here. I think it's around 8:30 in the evening here in southern Missouri. And I just moved the cows up into this section here, and I moved them once earlier today. So I do like moving them in the afternoon or evening, in the summertime especially, because about 8 hours after that is when their rumen heats up the most, and I would rather their rumen, their body temperature rise in the middle of the night as opposed to in the middle of the day. So I'll show you real quick. I'm gonna spin this around and just show you where we're at. You know, we're right next to the corral, right up here by the house, and they're on some great forage. And part of this is the process that Jim Elizondo talks about, jumping paddocks. And so rather than sticking with our same rotation, I could have taken them to where what would have been the normal rotation. This is the best recovered forage I have right now. And you know, we want the fattest cows possible, and I don't always do a good job. Sometimes I push the cows too hard, but you know, if you look at the forage that's here, I should have brought a tape measure out here, but this is nice, lush, tall. I mean, it's up to my knee in parts of this. So I'm gonna guess it's around 24 inches in forage here. Lots of white clover, lots of red clover. We have grazed this one time this year, and this is part of our growing season grass. And so you'll see where they were at. They certainly did not clean this up. They'll clean a little bit of this up tomorrow for sure. I did not push them super hard before I moved them up here tonight. Part of it's because I need them to have enough forage to get through tonight and tomorrow before I move them back over here. A couple things that I think are that I have to focus on this time of year is ensuring that I take them back to shade. And so this is, I'll show you real quick before I show what that looks like. So this field right here has, go through some grasses. This is chicory that's coming on. A lot of times in its younger stages, it does look like a lettuce, and before it bolts up like this. And there is Timothy. I think everybody probably knows that. Maybe not. So there's Timothy. Orchard grass is right here. And then I know I have fescue. Here's, there should be some fescue in here too. I know there's fescue. Where they're grazing, that's fescue. But here's some fescue right here, just smaller stuff. And now that we're past, you know, in southern Missouri, typically, I think somewhere around the 15th of June, this seed is all mature. So as the cows go through here, even if they, you know, are stepping on this, seed head is falling out everywhere. Same thing with the orchard grass, it's falling out. The Timothy is not completely mature yet. You can see it's pollinating at this point. But in our other pastures where it is resting, it's going to seed. So you get down here low to the ground, and you can see this pasture's really beautiful in my opinion. Lots of red clovers, lots of white clovers. And one thing that a lot of people don't know, I really like a diverse pasture. One of the reasons is this fescue in the summertime. And fescue in the summertime, really the endophyte, which is, you know, a fungus essentially that will affect the cows, and it's a vasoconstrictor or a vasoconstrictor. So it actually like tightens down the veins, causes the cows to overheat. A lot of times, if they have access to a pond, you'll see them standing in a pond. And from everything I've researched, red clover specifically is actually the opposite of a vasoconstrictor. It will actually open up their veins and allow blood to move more freely, allow them to cool down a little bit. Years ago, I still have cows from when I first started, and I didn't know all of this, and I failed plenty, and I pushed the cows too hard on a fescue dominant pasture, and I have some cows that do not have a tail switch, and that was one of the things, is that their tails can slough off, and in extreme cases their feet can slough off. But learned my lesson, and those cows are the ones that made it through all that system back then. Now some of those cows are 12 years old here on the farm, had a calf every single year, and yes, those are the kind of babies that I want to keep out of, because even with my poor management and my lack of knowledge, they've still succeeded, and so they're pretty hardy. But I'm gonna go down here. So I guess I didn't finish showing. The other thing is this field does have some Johnson grass in it. Spin that over there. When we get over here, there's some pretty good sized Johnson grass. It's gone to seed right now. There's some, we'll go back to regular. There's some Johnson grass right here as well. Some of this taller, and a really good sign of the Johnson grass, or example of the Johnson grass, a lot of times it has this white midrib going down the center of the leaves. You'll notice that even whenever it's smaller. There's dock in here, the orchard grass, this orchard grass, or this fescue. There's orchard grass, fescue. We talked about all that already. Some of this pasture's not as thick, so I got to change the process a little bit as I get across this field. So as it's really thick up here on this side, I think they used to milk cows out of the barn up there back in the day, and so I think there's a lot of high fertility up here right around the barn. And so as I get off over the hill, some of it's not as mature, or not as lush as what it is up here. But it's all changing as we use it more. So as we get down through here, like I said, tomorrow they'll clean up a little bit more of this. They'll take this down significantly lower, and they'll likely go ahead and eat off some of these thistles here. But one thing this time of year that is really important, not only to have your salt out for the cows and give them as much salt as probably they can possibly eat, but also to have a lane back to shade. And so I've got lane to water down here, and I'll continue to move across, and I'll keep this lane going to water. That's an old 4-ball Ritchie that was on the property when I bought it. It didn't take me long to have that lane ripped out completely, and or that water ripped out completely, and put a tire water in here. And so tire water is here. Got some goldfish swimming around in there, but I've divided this out. So one of the things with the total grazing program that I have not done yet, have not taken the time to do yet, is to build water lanes throughout the property, and also lanes to lead back to your corral and working facilities and all that. So because I haven't done that yet, I still have to use temporary poly wire, and tie into fences. Sometimes I tie into permanent electric fences. Sometimes I use a temporary charger. And so what I've done here is this hillside over here is east. And so in the morning, the cows will probably be up in this area over here on the west side. But as the temperatures rise in the day, I have built them a lane. Sorry to make anybody dizzy there. I've built them a lane back through this section right here. And so is grass forage in here that they're going to clean up tomorrow whenever they're over here. But when it gets hot and the heat index is in the mid to upper 90s, they're going to be able to come underneath these trees, lay down in the shade, and get out of the shade in the heat of the day, or get into the shade and out of the sun in the heat of the day. And so just something to think about. I do not have adapted genetics. It's one of those things that I hope that down the road, I really plan to change my genetics and hopefully introduce some Moshona into my herd. I would love a 50-50 mix of Mashona and Angus. People have probably heard me say that before, and then go from there. So last week I took one of the first steps in that process, and that is I went to AI school and preg check school out in Garnett, Kansas at the Graham School for Cattlemen. Phenomenal school. It's 5 days long, been around since 1909, great instructors there, and so I'm looking forward to, in the future at some point, implementing those processes. Anybody who has done AI before knows that it's not an easy task. It's not a quick task, right? You definitely have to have time to synchronize your cows, get them up, and then, you know, it's certainly not 100% either. So you still have to have a backup plan, whether that's a bull or a follow-up AI session with those cows. So, but yeah, so I'm excited. Cows are in here. They're going to clean up this section over the next few hours where I just turned them into, and then likely tomorrow they're going to clean up the rest of this grass really well. Then we'll move them over. So I'm going to go ahead and set tomorrow's fence while I'm out here, and I hope you guys are having some great weather. We've had tons of rain here, and there's a lot of hay hitting the ground right now. I don't hay this property at all. I typically buy a little bit of hay, but we're going to try to graze all year long, except for maybe getting if we get an ice storm or something like that. So, but it's me. I am signing off, and I hope you guys have a blessed evening, a blessed summer, and don't forget the reason we get to enjoy this life is because Jesus paid a way for us.